guess the bye week. How do you utilize it? What's the the approach heading
Well, number one, you're always going to use it to a little mental refresh, a little bit of a break, no matter when it comes. You're always going to use it some in recruiting. You use it for sure some with young guy development. Because they're doing your scout. Oh, that's not the total concentration, but you've got some time to do some things. We're on a weekly deal. Like our coaches will get out Thursday and Friday. We'll have a Thursday practice, but a lot of guys will be out, so you get to a lot of games. We've been to some, but it's even a more recruiting effort deal. We didn't practice Sunday night. Give them a little bit of a break coming off the game physically, so you can kind of be smart with some of the guys and with your nick-up guys. Every day's a practice deal. You don't wait till next year if you're a down the line or redshirt guy. So there's always that. To me, the timing of this deal is, we have a non-conference deal 4, and then we break, and then we even have another one coming. And not that we're putting everything in these 3 games, but your concentration with internally, what are we good at? What are we not good at? What can we do to help this guy? What can we do to play other players? Whatever. Just you can really evaluate yourself. What are your self-scout tendencies? In this formation, are we too much run-oriented, pass-oriented? If we're doing this blitz, is it really working or not? How do we make it better? Do we do it? If this coverage, where are we getting worked at or not? How do we make it better? So you can really self-scout yourself. And one, you start on yourself. Then you start building to your next opponent. You don't put everything just getting ready for the next opponent, Penn State, or just, then the Michigan State. But your concentrated effort of the opponents are those 3, because then you get to do this week again. And so it's seldom do you get 2 weeks, but to me it kind of segments our schedule with the non-conference, a 3-game run. We'll get to do some recruiting, we'll get to do some development, we'll get some self-eval, but we can segment the season and really concentrate our efforts. Then in quote, when it comes time to do some game playing, but you're not going to play in 2 weeks just for this one opponent. You'll maybe do a little bit. You might even look at some of the other opponents to some degree.
What do you
Does that maybe help?
How does the non-conference schedule kind of prep you for that Big Ten?
Well, we've played now. Navy's a little bit different from the offensive side, but I do think we've played some teams that have been pretty good. Defensively, we need to play better. I think we've also played. If you look at total, I just looked yesterday. I know we played 3 FBS schools, and I think total offense they're 7, 10, and 19. And there's a lot of guys moving the ball well, but we've got to make some strides there for sure. But I do think we are. But you love to be 4-0, and we haven't played well, and done what we need to win 2 games. But we have played good opponents. So now, again, you're going to go, and not that we're going to play teams that we've played the best teams we've played. We are going to play teams like we just played and other good teams. But at least we've been in that arena. We've got now a week to address it, not be in a panic, to really just get onto this next game. But it's also, look, here's where we had some issues that we got to try to fix in short term the best way we can. Because even though we're talking daily development, program development, if you're Ted Bowles or Kofi Hughes, Stephen Houston, Greg Heaven, Mitch Ewald, let's go. And say, it's 10 weeks of ball. Championship game and a bowl game. Those are your opportunities. So it's nice to talk daily and what you want to do in years to come. But my year is 2 open dates and 8 games, and let's see what that gets us at the end.
When you talk about reassessing yourself and what are we good at, what are we not good at, what are some of the answers you guys have come up with since you've been considering that this week?
Well, again, we've got to play better run defense, and we've got to run the ball better, which was the whole gist again of preseason. The other day we didn't have a run attack that worked and didn't block well. And no matter what the animals are you're blocking, you still got to find it. Because if you get one-dimensional, you're going to be very easy to defend. And then same thing on the defensive side. If you allow them to be 2-dimensional, you got to stop something. And in the league we play in, even though we're a spread team and we can do our tempo and be in shotgun, you still got to have the toughness and the balance on both sides of the ball. So that's really where everything's really concentrated on right now. What can we do to get run game? What can we do to be more gap sound, structure sound, eyes where they need to get the guys in the gaps and get off blocks and play better run defense?
Does this bye week come at a good time considering the uneven performances on both sides of the ball, do you think?
Yeah, to me it's a good time. Yeah, with that, but really, again, it kind of segments. We were talking about the 4-game run, boom, and now you got a really chance to reflect, analyze, what do you like, what do you don't like, and now let's move into these 3. And you're not moving just to the Big Ten. We're talking Big Ten. We're talking Leaders Division. But then we're really coming back from that and pairing it just to these 3, because then by this year's schedule, you get another open date to then self-eval, opponent eval, and go for that 5-game run in November.
If you evaluated the defense looking at scheme, execution, and experience, I guess what can you address most immediately?
Well, what I think is again, in my opinion, that as we've shared, and I've been with those guys again. Now, offensively, I'm gonna spend a lot of more practice time on the offensive field because we got 5 coaches over there in 4-0, and my background's O. But what I've shared with them is that with some players we have that are young, we need to play through mistakes of young guys. But we also have to think like young guys, and we have to help them out. So be careful that you don't maybe overcoach, try to do too much. Hey, if they do this now, because offenses are very, very multiple, you do need to have, and I use the word offensively, everybody talks about being sound. I use the words reasonably sound, because when you're playing fast, you're not going to be perfect. If you try to be perfect on defense and stop everything, you're thinking too much to play hard enough, fast enough, physical enough. So be careful you're not over adjusting. Well, hey, I know this is a young guy, and now if you do this, let's protect him this way. Now let's do this. Well, if you start checking, it's like the golfer thinking so much he can't release the club. I'm talking to Trey a couple weeks ago, like, hey man, you're thinking too much. Just see it and rip it. You know, you're not as pure a passer as some other guys. Man, see that thing and just rip it. And he has the last week and a half been a little bit better. But when he was kind of struggling weeks earlier, not throwing the way I wanted to, he's a little over analytical, because our kids really want to do well, and our coaches really want to do well. We got to make sure we don't get in the way. We coach the effort, the attitude, and we're sound. We get our guys lined up. We get our eyes where we need to, and we go attack the ball. If we get worked, we get worked. But that's, to me, where we got to be better, just in simple structure of being just fundamentally cleaner. And then let's go play harder.
Are your injured guys on track, do you think, to play against Penn State?
We'll see. Now, we got a couple of them going today. Again, we came out of the Missouri game with not, again, excessive nickups, so we haven't lost anyone. Eckerd was full go today, but it's still, not full go wide open yet. So, again, it'd be nice. And, again, it's not that he's going to be redshirted. Quote, he can be. If it keeps dragging. No, we don't want to go out. If he goes out and he's kind of gimping, we play one game, now it's game 5, you don't even get that medical red shirt. That only happens in the first 3 or 4 weeks. So we need him to show he's going to play at the level he needs to. Now, Ralston has actually played pretty well in his absence, and not as good as we want, but he's held his own. So those guys need to be better, and we've got a couple guys out. But the 3 guys that came in will play well. And we didn't play poorly Saturday because the O-line was just horrible, as much as they need to play better, but we got to give them a chance in play calling and scheming and in game planning.
How about Taylor, though?
Same deal. I mean, he's on. It's just an ankle sprain. You'd like to think we'll get him here as the week goes, but we'll see. And we're not overdoing it, because don't prove it to me today and be gimped up. So, but you got to prove that you can go. So there's a little bit. It's a little risk reward. And right now, how do you want to throw him out there if he's not full tilt every play? You get him in certain work, certain drills, certain settings he's in, and maybe other settings. Hey, if you're not full go, you pull it back. But he's got to be where in the practice mode, he's pushing 100% of he can do everything we're doing to really get out there and get going.
Coach, if you had guys who want to participate in one of those All Players United, demonstrations, or wear a patch on their jersey or something like that, would there be any repercussions from the university or the football team for something like that?
I addressed it with Art. I didn't know that was going on, so I saw the ESPN things on site and hadn't heard anything about that. I think our kids think they get treated. We're kind of worrying more about ourselves instead of the big picture, and making Indiana football relevant and where we belong instead of the big picture college football. We're trying to make a statement that we're a good Big Ten team, and make a statement for our fans and our student body that we're going to play good for you and just building our team. But we had a couple guys that like to do their things, and they didn't. No one. I don't think we had anyone do that Saturday. But I made a comment. If your tape is not a billboard, and if you want to put something on you tell me, and we'll all do it. But we're not going to do it individually, because the word uniform means one form, and we're going out as one form, one family, one team. If you want to do something, let's do it together. And I shared up the team post game. And one of my guys spat his shoes. I said, hey, if you want to do it, let's check with me, and we'll all do it. But we're not going to do our own thing. We're going to do it together. So my thing would be, we'll address that as a group, and no one's talked about it. But I did address on the similar side that we are going to wear the same sock. We come to work out in the summer. It's the same shirt. We're going to look as a team, and as a family. And if we want to do something, we'll do it collectively as a group, not as an individual.
How's the bye week different coming off a loss and having a lot of guys saying they want to get back onto the field, wish they had a game Saturday to prove it otherwise? How do you kind of temper that and keep them focused?
Well, again, we had good practice today. We got to take, again, we've had good practices. We got to take, that's all talking. The coach can say that you guys have seen his practice to some degree, not recently, but our practice. I mean, we got to take our practice habits, our practice performance to the game. Had a coach today showed 25 clips of preseason at his position, and then showed game clips and said, which looks better? They said, preseason, take your practice to game. Was there, you did this against our team. Where was it Saturday? You can do it. Take that. So to me, whether we can go play or not, it just is where it is. We have sold all along the segmentation of the schedule so we could concentrate on certain things. And now we got a chance to eval, player develop, recruit, and now make a commitment to the next 3, just not for Penn State, which will be a great opportunity, huge game for us, but we'll look at the next 3. So that's been our sell. That's how we sold it to them. We had today basically like a preseason practice. We kind of went good on good and kept it simple, lined up in base stuff and tried to get off blocks and stay on blocks and protect and rush and make throws and catches and fundamental kicking. We had it like a very elementary good football day.
When you watched film from Missouri, what did you got a chance to reevaluate Nate's performance? What did you think watching it the second time around?
Well, again, stat-wise, you got 3 picks. Now, one right before the half, and we just chunked one up, trying to make some, we ran it down to the last second and said, okay, instead of kicking, we by clock, we couldn't ran the clock out. There was one more play, it was 4th down. So instead of putting the punt team out there, let's just take a shot. So that's one pick that, statistically, I guess you want to throw it out of bounds if it's truly not there. Protection didn't last. We were missing some stuff on a protection. We're going firmer, and we tried to soften up to not miss, and we get a guy makes a heck of a play on a pick. And then at the end, a drop 8 play, he has 3 picks, and probably that wasn't an ideal call. And he actually worked it pretty good and thought his receiver was going to come back to the ball and was out of sync. So, we had picks, but like I said before, when we're comparing the Navy performance of Trey or Nate, just by play calling and the function of the play, Trey didn't get a lot of help. Nate didn't get a lot of help the other day. When you don't have a running game and they're 10 off and protection's breaking down and you're getting behind chains and 2nd long and 3rd long, you're getting one-dimensional. And so I just think the product of the way the game plan got called, put together, how we practiced, not getting the run game going, performances of certain guys got us one-dimensional, and he didn't have a lot of help. He didn't play poorly, but they're always going to look better when everything's clicking and everybody's looking good, and they're going to look kind of very average if they're hung out to dry, and he got hung out. So, but I think, again, he's responded good, and it was nice to be in that arena. He'll learn and grow from it. He's a young guy. It's his 2nd start. And, again, Tip Bolzer and Kofi and those guys don't give a flip about that. But, you're out there, you're playing some guy, you got young linebackers getting guys lined up. They got to get them lined up. Young D lineman, Antonio Allen, get him set. Tevin Coleman, how many starts does he have? He's the first time being the primary back. There's a few guys, you get those injured O linemen. So you're still young enough, there's still some growing pains, but we've worked hard enough and we're good enough. That's an excuse. We got to get past that for those seniors who deserve us to go out and play winning football because we're good enough to play it and we need to do it.
How much?
We got one more, guys.
Before the season, you said you wanted your quarterbacks to complete 70% of their passes. Right now, Nate's at 65%. What kind of tangible effects is that kind of holding your offense back?
A little bit, but I think the real deal, the 2 games we struggled, we had run game. Because I think when you get the run game, you're throwing easier completions because there's numbers get attacked to the run game. The line is not worried about rushing the quarterback. They got to play gap sound. Your play actions and things and normal down passing is easier because you're not in 2nd long and 3rd longs. And so to me, I think it's a byproduct of the team. But and that's what, again, those are some of the self-evals we're doing. What are we doing that can get us at 70%? And that doesn't mean you're throwing dinks all day. What can you do to get the run game, have the balance, get our offense? That game was played Saturday opposite of how we knew we needed to play it. We did not play the game on our toes. Our offense was on its heels with no run game. They attacked us. Defensively, we didn't attack them. We allowed them to get rhythm. They attacked us. You're a good football team when you're the one that on both sides of the ball where you're the aggressor. And it's the flow of the game happened Saturday. That's in play calling and prepping, and that's where we got to. That's the self-eval we're looking at. How can we find run game? How can we stop run game? How can we be a team that stays in rhythm? Because we played Saturday, you saw one team in rhythm, you saw another team out of sync.
All right, guys.
Thanks, guys.